Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing all of my top recommendations for the Sephora Savings Event. I will go ahead and put up all the info on the screen and I'll also leave it in the description box. But starting on Friday, November 1st, Rouge members get 20% off. VIB members get 15% off starting on November 5th. And then Beauty Insiders also get access on November 5th, but they get 10% off. And Sephora Collection will be 30% off for all three tiers starting on November 1st. And the sale runs until November 11th. So all the info will be in the description box, and the code for this year is savings. I did do a recommendations video back in the spring for the Sephora Spring Savings Event. So all those products in that video are still my favorites. I still recommend them. So if you wanted to watch that video after this one, I will go ahead and leave it in the description box. But for today's video, I wanted to focus on newer products. And even though I have recently tested some of these products, I've used them enough times at this point that I feel comfortable talking about them and recommending them to you guys. So let's go ahead and get into it. I don't have a foundation to recommend in today's video. I'm just super picky with foundations, and I think especially the older that I get, a lot of foundations don't end up working for me. So I don't have one, but I do have a primer and a concealer. So as for primer, this one is very new, but I have been using it with a few different foundations and I have been loving it. This is the Huda Beauty Easy Blur Primer. I know I just talked about this in a recent testing new makeup video, but I hadn't tested it enough times, and since that video, I have worn it several times with a couple of different foundations, and today I'm wearing it with the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation, which I did mention in the previous Sephora recommendations video. And this one, of course, is still a favorite, but this primer paired really nicely with that foundation, and it's paired really nicely with other foundations as well. Even though it doesn't give me a super dramatic smoothing and blurring effect, I feel like it does something, and my skin looks smoother overall. It also helps my foundation to adhere better, and I get a little bit of hydration from it. It also feels a little refreshing, so I've really been liking it. And even though I did say that this was an okay product in the recent video that I did with this, I do like it now. I don't think it's just an okay product. I do feel like this makes a difference. This concealer has become my go-to, and it's all I've wanted to use for the past few months. I actually have to force myself to use anything else in my collection, but this is the Haus Triclone Skin Tech Concealer, and I have this one in the shade 13 Light Neutral. I also have the shade 10 Light Golden, but that one is just a little bit too light for me right now. But this concealer wears such a long time on me. I can wear it for about 10 to 12 hours, and it looks almost the same by the end of the night, which is super rare when it comes to concealers. I feel like a lot of them just don't hold up for that long, but this one does. It has really good coverage, and it just looks really nice and smooth underneath my eyes. So this one has become a favorite. It wasn't at first. It took me quite a few uses to realize that I actually love this, but I haven't been wanting to use anything else. I've been trying to shop my stash more often so that I don't just use this one. The Makeup by Mario Softsculpt Bronzing and Shaping Serum. I'm not normally a fan of liquid bronzers. There's just something about most liquid bronzers that isn't very blendable, at least not compared to cream bronzers. I usually am not a fan of liquid bronzers in general, but this one I really like because it's so easy to use. I think because it is sheer, I don't have to worry about being too perfect with my blending. I especially love it for lighter makeup days or everyday makeup looks. And this one comes with a pump and a doe foot applicator, but I have never actually used the pump on this. I haven't really found the need to use it. I feel like the doe foot applicator could be a little bit bigger. Maybe this product would benefit from that, but it disperses just the right amount of product. So honestly, I think it's a pretty good doe foot applicator. And I don't think I mentioned this, but I have this in the shade Light Medium. And this is a really good shade for me, but if I wanted it to show up a little bit more, I could go up one more shade. So maybe the shade Medium, but I actually like the natural look that this shade gives me. So I like this one. It's worked for me since the summer, even when I had a tan. I also like that this isn't completely matte, so it does give a natural finish, and it has a tiny bit of pearl in it, but honestly you can barely tell. The finish to me is more natural. So again, not very pigmented, but that's actually why I like it. I love this for quick everyday makeup looks. This one is also for Makeup by Mario, but it is a newer product to me. And even though I just tested it in a recent video, I have used it quite a few times since filming that. This is the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Soft Blur Setting Powder. And this is a talc-free setting powder. I have this in the shade 2 Light Neutral. I thought this shade was going to be more brightening, but I love that it works more like a translucent setting powder on me, so I can use it on my entire face. It looks super smooth, but it's also lightweight. I would say this is a much lighter setting powder than the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Powder. Now, don't get me wrong, I love that one. I love how heavy duty and matte it is, but this has been a great lighter weight option. So not as matte or oil controlling as the Huda Beauty one, but I actually like this for that reason. But it does tone down the shininess. It gives a really pretty soft and smoothing effect, but it locks my makeup into place. So whenever I want something a little bit more lightweight and I don't need my makeup to feel super matte, this has been my go-to option. Okay, time for blushes, which is one of my favorite makeup categories. I have 3 different blushes to recommend. So the Milk Makeup Cooling Water Jelly Tints. These I know went super viral at one point, and honestly, I thought these were gonna be just like an overhyped product and maybe just fun to use. I didn't think that these were going to become a favorite, let alone make it into a Sephora recommendations video, but here we are. So these are not only fun to use, but I actually love the way that they look on my skin. Even though these are both cheek and lip stains, I really only use them as blushes. I just haven't really felt the need to use them as a lip stain, but the couple of times that I tried them, they did go on pretty nicely. This texture is really interesting. It looks like a gummy. Now, because it is a cheek stain, you have to work really quickly, so I will point that out. This isn't just something that you can apply or dab onto the cheeks and just really take your time with it. You really have to work fast with these, but the effect on the cheeks, I definitely think is worth it. Because it is such a thin texture, it kind of just looks like it's one with the skin. That's the best way that I can describe it. It's a really thin and flattering texture on the skin, and because they are stains, they last a really long time on me. So I have these in the shades Spritz. This one is like a warm coral, and then this one is called Splash, and this one on me is like a bright pink. So very pretty as well, but I do find myself reaching for Spritz a lot more. I think my favorite way to apply these is just applying them directly onto my cheeks. Even though I have to work quickly, I just like the end result better, but I also like applying these onto the brush and then applying them onto my cheeks. That also works really well, but it's kind of just personal preference. I feel like both ways work really well. I especially love applying these on lighter makeup days, so even if I'm not wearing foundation, and because they wear a really long time, I don't have to worry about my blush disappearing throughout the day. The Patrick Ta Double Take Cream and Powder Blush Duo. This one is in the shade Not Too Much, and I've been loving this shade, especially paired with cooler toned eyeshadow looks. Kind of like what I have on today. I have on a lot of mauvey and taupey shades on the lids, and I feel like this shade pairs really nicely with that because it is a more neutral rosy pink. So I am wearing it on the left half of my face. I did apply the cream first, actually on a set face. I had already applied powder. I was actually surprised that the cream went on so nicely because I already had on the Makeup by Mario setting powder all over. So it didn't lift up my foundation, and I really liked the powder blush over top of it. It gave a really pretty glow. And on my right side, I have on this Fenty Beauty blush. This is the Suede powder blush in the shade Bakin Cakez, which is also a soft rosy taupe shade, but I would say this one leans a little bit more warm toned, and I would say it's also a little bit deeper, but they are pretty similar. Okay, they don't look super similar in the pan, but once they're on my cheeks, they do look like similar shades. I would say the Fenty one is more on the satin leaning matte side, whereas the Patrick Ta ones have more of a glow to them. But these are both really pretty, soft, rosy taupe shades. Even though I did hear some buzz about this powder highlighter when it first released, I feel like it's still a little bit underrated, and I don't hear that many people talking about it, but I love this powder highlighter formula. This is the Sephora Collection Colorful Luminizer, and this is in the shade Sparkling Honey. This highlighter looks a little bit deeper in the pan than it does on the face. So when I first tried this, I thought it was going to be a little bit too deep for me, but this is actually the perfect undertone. It's not too deep. I love this undertone because it is more of like a champagne highlighter shade, but it leans a little bit pinky. So it's just really pretty. And because it is Sephora Collection, it's going to be 30% off. So I might even pick up one more shade. I have 3 different eyeshadow palette recommendations. And this one is one of the newer ones in my collection. I did do an entire dedicated video to it as well. This is the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes Moonlight palette. Now, this color story is very outside of my comfort zone, which is why I didn't think it would become a favorite. And this is actually my first Makeup by Mario palette. I really wish I would have tried the original Ethereal Eyes palette, which is a lot more neutral. It leans a little bit warm as well. So I think I would have loved that one, but I just didn't purchase it at the time and it's not available anymore. This one is also limited edition, so I'm really glad that I picked it up because I don't have any regrets. I love the mattes in here. They're very soft and blendable, but very pigmented. I've been loving the dark matte shades in here as liners. So you do get a dark warm matte brown and a dark blue as well as a black. So all 3 of those come in handy to use as liners. And the shimmers are more like toppers. So the only true metallic that you get in here is this one right here, and this is the shade EM4. I actually really like that the rest of the shimmers are toppers. I've always loved topper eyeshadows, so this is right up my alley, and I love the different undertones. Even though it does lean more cool toned, you also get some neutral in here, so it's not completely cool toned. It does flatter my skin tone really nicely, so I have been loving it. I didn't think I would. I thought maybe I would like it, but because of this color story, I didn't think that I would enjoy it as much as I have been. I also have 2 eyeshadow palettes from Natasha Denona. So this one I'm actually wearing on my lids today. This is the I Need a Nude palette. Surprisingly, I don't think I've used this on my channel. At least I don't think so. I'm trying to remember what video I might have used this in, but I don't think I have. But I really love this one. I love the taupes and the movie shades. And I like that there's a little bit of pink and bronze as well, especially in the shimmers. It's just a really pretty everyday palette, but you can also get some more dramatic looks. And then this one is the Golden palette. This was my go-to palette in the summer. I really like the golden tones in here, but I like that it isn't too warm toned. I would say this is more of a neutral golden color story, so nothing in here pulls too warm. Overall, I would say it's pretty neutral. So I've been loving both of these. They're very different color stories from each other, but I've been getting use out of both of them. Okay, time for lip liners. This one from Freck Beauty. This is the Makeout Club Nude Muse lip liner, and this one is in the shade 04, which is a rosy cinnamon. This one is one of the more longer wearing lip liners in my collection, and I like the fact that it's retractable. It's also very creamy, but it does dry down and it stays put for hours. I am planning on picking up another shade that's a little bit lighter. I think it's a shade 3, but this one is a really pretty rosy cinnamon shade. It does dry down to a matte finish, I would say, but I like that you get plenty of time to really buff it out onto the lips. These don't dry nearly as quickly as the Fenty Beauty ones. I'm so torn about those because I love the shades, but the formula is just a little too creamy in a way that it smushes and they break very easily, but these don't break easily and it's retractable. So even though I don't mind having to sharpen my lip liners, it's always handy when you don't have to sharpen them. These lip liners from Sephora Collection are also retractable, and these have a more satin finish, I would say. These don't dry down matte, so they're a little bit creamier, but they also stay put for a few hours. They're not as long wearing as the one from Freck Beauty, but they do wear a decent amount of time. So if you don't want anything too matte, I think you would like these. But these are called the Rouge Gel Lip Liners. I would say these are kind of like a hybrid between a lip liner and a satin creamy lipstick, because they do have a bit of a shinier look to them. So here is the shade Dress to the 90s, which, as you can see by the swatch, it is shinier and maybe not as pigmented as the Freck Beauty ones, but this is a really nice everyday taupey nude shade. And then here is the shade Rosewood, and this one is deeper and warmer. It's a little bit more on the rosy side. So I definitely recommend these, and they're already affordable compared to other lip liners at Sephora, but even more so with the 30% off discount. So if you like a lip liner that isn't matte, which in my opinion is kind of hard to find, I think you're really gonna like these. And then this lip liner from Anastasia Beverly Hills, this is in the shade Deep Taupe, and this is the one that I'm wearing on my lips today, but I did pair it with this liquid lipstick from Smashbox. This is in the shade Stepping Out. This lip liner you do have to sharpen, but I don't mind. I love this shade. It's just the perfect deep taupe shade for me. You also get quite a bit of product, at least it looks that way. This is a much longer lip pencil than some other ones in my collection. I think this is the most matte finish out of all the lip liners I showed you today, but also very long wearing. Maybe not as long wearing as the Freck Beauty one, but I feel like they're pretty similar. So those are all of the lip liner recommendations. I don't have any lipstick recommendations, but I do have a lip gloss. So this is the Haus Labs PhD Hybrid Lip Glaze in the shade Praline. Now this one I usually keep in my purse because I love to take it everywhere I go. I love to reapply it throughout the day. And because it is a more moisturizing formula, I usually don't feel the need to use a separate lip balm with it or some sort of lip mask. So very hydrating and comfortable on the lips. I'm not wearing this one today because it was just a little too warm for this eye look, but this one does pair really nicely with all the lip liners that I showed you today. So here it is. This is the shade Praline. I kind of want to pick up another shade during the sale, but I do have a ton of lip products right now, especially lip glosses and lip balms. So I'm kind of trying to hold off, but I'm really tempted to get at least one more shade of this because I absolutely love the formula. So that is it for lip products. I have one more makeup product to recommend, and this is the One Size Until Dawn Mattifying Waterproof Setting Spray. And this one I have in the mini, but I am planning on purchasing the full size, maybe during the sale or maybe during Black Friday, because I still have a little bit less than half left of this. It just sets everything into place. It controls my oils and it makes my makeup last for hours and hours. It really does extend my makeup, or the wear of my makeup, I should say. So if you want something very mattifying and you want your makeup to last all day long, I would highly recommend this one. And actually, I do have one other setting spray recommendation, but I ran out of it, so I don't have it in front of me. The Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. So that one has a different finish. I would say that one is a little bit glowier, but it also sets your makeup into place really nicely. It doesn't control my oils the way that the One Size one does, but I actually like it because of that, and I do like pairing both of them. So I like applying the Charlotte Tilbury one first, and then I go over top of it with the One Size setting spray, and it is just the most perfect combo for making my makeup last all day long. And yeah, I wish I had that one with me, but I ran out of it. So that one I'm definitely repurchasing during the sale. So that is it for all of my makeup recommendations. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Let me know if you're planning on picking up anything during the sale, or are you planning on skipping it, which I completely understand. I wasn't going to purchase anything, but there are a couple of things that I have my eye on that are newer products, and I'm also going to be restocking a few favorites. So let me know what you guys are interested in and if you're planning on shopping the sale, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!